Welcome to Stories for Wonderful Children. I'm Dan Wendelin, your host and storyteller. For years, I improvised a new bedtime story for my children every night. Now, we would like to share the recordings of the best of those stories with you. I hope you enjoy my Stories for Wonderful Children.
Rebecca, Recheetah, and Diana Stickapod were in the car with their mommy. Their mommy was taking them along with their little sister Katie because they needed some new shoes. Rebecca, Recheetah, of course, ran through shoes very quickly because she ran so much that she wore shoes out quickly. And Diana liked to have a lot of choice when she was picking out her shoes for the day. And so they both needed a new pair. So they were on their way to the mall. And they got to the mall. The parking lot was very full. And they did not see, they could not find an open parking space. So their mommy had Diana get out of the car and touch each of the tires to make them stick, and then she drove up the wall on the side of the mall and she parked the car there, stuck to the side of the mall building. And then they all got out.
How are they gonna get up?
It wasn't very high up. It was just a few feet off the ground. They all went into the mall. They walked through the department store, past all the clothes, and then they went out, and they were at the part of the mall that had a big ship, like a spaceship, that kids could play on. And the girls asked if they could play, and the mommy said only they had to get shoes first and see how much time they had left. And so they went on. They got to the area where you could go to the upstairs part of the mall, but the stairs were out of order because someone had spilled their ice cream on the stairs and they were still cleaning it up. And the elevator wasn't working because it was full of monkeys that had escaped from the zoo. And the people from the zoo hadn't come yet. And so what the people in the mall had done is they had another part of the mall where you could get to the upstairs by using a rock climbing wall. And so they stood there looking at the rock climbing wall. And of course, their mommy could climb up it, and the girls could climb, Rebecca and Diana could climb up it, but Katie was too young to climb up it. So they used Diana's sticking powers to make Katie stick to the wall, and then Katie just crawled up the wall after them without having to hold on to anything. And they got upstairs, and they got to the shoe store, and they walked in, and the usual shoe clerk was not there. Instead, there was behind where the counter usually was, there was a throne. And there was a man dressed in robes on the throne, wearing a crown, and he had a scepter. And he said, "Welcome to my kingdom. I am the king of shoes." And they all looked at each other a little bit. And then their girl's mommy said, "Well, king of shoes, it's good to meet you. I have two little girls. One of them wears a size 12, and the other one wears a size 2. And we need..." And the king said, "Silence! You have not addressed me correctly. You must call me your majesty, and you must use polite words." The girls looked at their mommy, whose eyes had opened wider. She looked rather surprised, and a little tiny bit annoyed. And she said, "All right. Your Majesty, my girls wear a size 12 and size 2. Will you please show us shoes that might fit them?" "Certainly," said the king. "Your wish is granted." And he took his scepter and he rapped it down hard on the counter. And two people came running out of the back, and he said, "Underlings, get shoes for these girls. My royal guests, size 2 and size 12. And The royal underlings went back to the back of the shoe store, and they came back out a few minutes later. They had 3 pair of shoes for Rebecca Recheetah to look at. The first pair were boots, which Rebecca Recheetah did not even wish to try on, because she said that boots were not good shoes for running fast, because she couldn't bend her ankles as much. And so she opened up the other 2 pair, and one of them was a white pair with flashing lights along the side that flashed when you ran, and she kind of liked those. Then she opened the other pair, and they had pink cheetah spots on them, and she decided she didn't care about the flashing. But then when she put them on, tried them on, she found out that the pink cheetah spots flashed when she ran, and she liked them so much at that point that she refused to even take them off again so they could buy them. And she gave the king of the shoes her best curtsy and said, "If it please your majesty, I'd like to just wear them. I like them so much." And the king looked at her for a moment, and he said, "Well, since you ask so nicely and curtsy so well, I shall allow it." And Rebecca grinned. And then it was Diana Stickapod's turn, and she looked at several different pairs of shoes. They had a pair of boots for her, and she liked them. She liked boots a great deal. She already had a black pair of boots that she wore a lot, and this pair of boots was pretty spectacular because they started out black, but as you walked in them, they changed color. So they were black, and after you took 5 steps, they would be pink, and after you took 5 more steps, they would be white, and after you took 5 more steps, they'd be yellow, and they just kept changing color like that. And so if you didn't like the color, you just walked a little bit more. And she liked those very much. So she said she wanted to get those. And then there was another pair of shoes that she liked a lot that was more sort of running shoes, and they had springs in the soles so that when you ran on them, you can sort of bounce on the springs and jump higher.
But Diana Stickapod didn't want those probably because springs would just knock her into a tree if she was racing me on the boulevard or something.
Actually, she did like them because she thought it was fun to bounce on them. Sort of like having your own personal pogo stick in your shoes. And so their mommy got them, and she asked the king of the shoes how much the shoes cost, and the king said, "I have all the gold I need. What I need are people to complete quests for me. I will give you these shoes as a gift if you can complete my quest." And then her mommy said, "What's the quest?" And the king said, "In the spaceship downstairs in the mall, there resides a vicious beast. I wish you to slay the beast and bring it here to me." And I said, "Well, we'll go take a look." And so they went downstairs. They didn't have to go down the rock wall this time because the stairs were back open. The ice cream had been cleaned up. And as they walked up to the spaceship, they heard children laughing and giggling. And all the laughing and giggling seemed to be coming from the top of the spaceship. And so Rebecca and Diana climbed up the side, and then they stuck their head out. They said, "Mommy, you'll never believe it." And the mommy said, "What?" And the girls disappeared a second, and then they pulled over to look out the window of the spaceship. A dog, and it was a beagle, and it looked a lot like their shark/dog/manatee, Peanut. But it wasn't Peanut. They could tell if they looked closely. The girl said, "Look at this." And their mommy sort of looked at the dog for a minute, and she said, "You know what? Is that dog a boy or a girl?" And the girl said, "He's a boy." And their mommy said, "I bet you that's one of Peanut's brothers, because she had 2 brothers. I wonder what he's doing here at the mall." And Rebecca said, "He's got a tag," and she read it, and it said the dog's name was Fearsome Beast, and it said property of the King of Shoes. And Diana said, "Oh, doggy, you're lost. We need to take you home." And so she grabbed the dog under one arm, and she stick-a-potted her way down out of the spaceship. And then Rebecca took the dog, and she went super zippy fast at full Recheetah speed upstairs again to the King of Shoes. And the King of Shoes said, "This is excellent. You have brought me the fearsome beast." and he scratched the fearsome beast's ears, and the fearsome beast licked him on his royal nose. And then he said, as a reward for completing this quest, you may have these shoes as a gift. And they all curtsied and said, thank you, your majesty. And then they went back and they opened the side door of their van.
That's an extremely weird shoe.
And they climbed up into it, and then they drove down the wall of the mall, and they drove out of the parking lot, and they went on home.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the story.
Thanks for listening to Stories for Wonderful Children. I created today's show, but questions and running commentary were supplied by my children. The theme music was created by Brandon Thompson, and our wonderful logo was designed by Silas Swindlin. If you know someone who might enjoy the show, please tell them about it. Do you want more stories? You can now subscribe to the show and help pick a new story for me to tell every month. The show's website is storiesforwonderfulchildren.com. Until next time, I'm Dan Wendelin, reminding you to tell someone you love a story.